And my custom here for many, many years, I'm going to do it right now, to say words of tribute about my father. And it is basically because of my father that this program went on the air to begin with and remains on the air to the present day. My dad, Nathan Shor, passed away on December the 4th, 2004. He gave me many things and many experiences, his teachings and the experience of working with him for so many years in the movie theaters. And one of the things that he gave me was the love of Jewish music and culture, which was so important to him. When I was a kid, he had this big stereo console, and it was like a piece of furniture, and he was always playing his records for everybody, and he enjoyed playing them for people. And we used to go for rides on Sunday. Gas was cheap back in the 60s, and some people maybe went to the museum or they went to here or there. Well, we used to take a ride in the direction of Baltimore, and you know why? Because A.D. Glitchikov's Yiddische Radiostunde came on WBMD in Baltimore at 2 o'clock, and my dad liked to listen to that program, and so I remember listening to it as a kid, and just something that I remember. Later when the videos came out and the invention of the VCR, he would tape everything Jewish, and he would listen to the most acid rock music. As long as it was Jewish, he would enjoy it. And then in 1980, I got the radio show. And I never would have had the length and breadth of knowledge of Jewish music to be able to do the show without him and without his teaching. People were amazed that A, I was only in my 20s, and B, that I was born in the United States. Almost until the day he died, he would call me, put this channel on or that channel, tape this or that. It all was so very, very important to him. But by the time the last decade, the aughts they call it now, by the time they came, it was harder and harder to keep the show going. And then finally, right around the time that my dad died, I had to throw in the towel and take the show off the air. And to be quite honest, I thought that the show died along with my dad. And then about 5 years later, totally out of the blue, the phone rings and it was Chris Roth calling for Bill Paris, and they wanted to put the show back on the air. And because Bill Paris is the gentleman and the friend that mensch that he is, he arranged it so that all the pressures and the difficulties have been removed. And as excited as I was to put the show back on the air, something totally unexpected and even more wonderful happened. When Ben said, "Dad, I'd like to do the show with you." And there it was. The legacy would continue. Because I had wondered, especially in the time that I was off the air, I wondered how I was going to transfer the love for this material that my father gave me. How would I transfer it to my own children? Because the era that they are growing up in is so very different from mine. And all the people who could have helped me to do it are all gone. We had a lot of loss in a short period of time in our family. But I was wrong, and I'm glad that I was wrong, because now Ben sits with me every Sunday, and we do the show together. And I know that the Shor Jewish music legacy goes on not only the Lador Vador from generation to generation, now with the invention of the internet, it goes truly around the world. And I know that somewhere in the other world, my father is smiling, and I believe that he hears this show and that it does his neshama a great deal of nachas. My dad lived his life by a certain code of honor and respect. He never took off the sergeant's stripes that he so proudly wore for this country. It was part of who he was, and he taught me that you always had to do what was right, and that no amount of inconvenience or expediency would ever change that. It really made me who I am in such an important way, and he had great influence on the show. We used to talk about the different records I was going to play. He would suggest things that he thought I should play. We would talk to each other in Yiddish, and I miss him so very much. But now I am comforted because Washington Jewish Radio is on the air, and the addition of Ben and his material and his music has made the show younger and fresher, even as we continue to pay tribute to the great artists and the great recordings of yesteryear. And the show is in its entirety a continuing tribute to my dad. The show has changed over the years, but how fortunate I am that what meant so much to him continues through his son and now through his grandson. May his memory always be for a blessing. My dad used to say in his sense of humor that for the first half of his married life, he was known as Meyer Ehrlich's son-in-law, and ever since then he was known as Larry Shor's father. Well, I got him beat because I have the greatest title of all. I am Nate Shor's son. Here's Paul Zim in a very, very nice selection dedicated to all the Yiddish Papas, a reworking of the song My Yiddish Mama called My Yiddish Papa, recorded back in 1979.